Okay.
So we are joined all the way from Dallas, Texas, suburb of Richardson, Texas, by my friend Ashley Birch, Linux engineer with IBM, college basketball referee. We thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School, and we are recording this for all of our computer science engineering schools here in Madison County Schools. Madison Middle School, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Old Town Middle School, Germantown High School, my good friend Angela Jordan over at Shirley Simmons, and my friend Tiffany Turnage at MCTC and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, so before we get into your background and what all it is you do, Monday you were in the path of totality for the solar eclipse there in North Texas. So I was extremely jealous of this, but we have got to hear about what that experience was like because it's not something that happens very often.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Basically, we camped out at a neighbor's house. They cooked out, grilled, so we had food and everything, Food makes everything more enjoyable, period. So, but yeah, we set out and so basically we were in the line of totality. And we sat there and we literally just watched the moon cover the sun like from beginning to end with the goggles or with the glasses, what do you want to call them. And it was something like none other. Like my neighbor actually had a telescope, so we saw so close, we saw moon spots.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah, and
man.
then we saw the prominence. So when the totality actually occurred, it did get dark. It doesn't get pitch black, but the ambience changes and the temperature drops
Wow.
and the street lights came on and it lasted maybe like 3.5 minutes. And
Wow.
then it slowly passes. And it was just awesome. Like, I don't know. I felt the energy from the eclipse and everything. It was
Well, I'm going to stay healthy enough to see the next one because the next one,
right.
the path of totality comes right through Mississippi. So I'm gonna hang in there and be safe until then. So
What, 20
super
years?
cool. 2045. So I can make it if I don't do anything dangerous. So now you're originally from Kansas City, and we'll let you make it as a Chiefs fan today. But you're originally from Kansas City, went to Park University, and then went to HBCU, University of Virgin Islands, to get an MBA. So take us through that because you did not go to school to be in computers.
I did not. Like anybody else, I was a college athlete. So education wasn't really on the forefront of my mind at the time. I didn't take a lot of time to really think about life after being an athlete. So I think that that's very important. If I can redo anything, it would be to think about that. But yes, I had an undergrad in business. I did the most generic thing to make sure that I graduated on time and I got out of there. And then I had an opportunity to do my graduate school in the University of the Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. And I got an MBA not because I wanted to, but I thought that that was the thing to do, all this, get a diploma, go to school, get your MBA and things like that. And you got to really put thought into it before because you can achieve a lot of the same things, maybe not investing as much time, even though time is important, but if you really know what you want, you can shave a lot of time knowing what you want. Put it that
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah, and just a quick geography aside, the Virgin Islands is a part of the United States. For our middle schoolers and people that don't know that, you did not go out of the country. You're still in the United States. And that is a great HBCU there. And I've actually called one of their games before because they are in the same conference as one of the schools here in Jackson. So that is just a quick aside. Now, you were in the finance world, you were in insurance, and you made a 180 and changed careers similar to the way I did. And you got your certifications through community college.
I did. So after all the schooling, after 6 years of going to school and getting your master's and things like that, of course, I didn't like what I got my master's in. It was too generic. I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do unless I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I really didn't know what path I was going down. So after doing that, that's when I took the time to figure out what it is that I wanted to do and what would earn me money, right? Of course. And the job placement rate was very important on how quickly I could get into the field. And so I went to Johnson County Community College. And well, first off, I I looked around and I was like, well, computer science, technology is something that's not going anywhere, and
Yep.
you make really good money. So I decided to pinpoint what category in IT, because IT is broad. So you have to figure out like what do you want to do? Is it networking? Is it security? Um, Windows patching? Like what is it that you want to do? So I chose Linux because the job placement rate is high. There's not a lot of minorities in that field and a lot of Black women as well. So that's why I chose that. So I went back to junior college and
Yeah.
I
And yeah.
did 2 semesters there and learned the basics, and I got a mentor.
Yeah, and that's the thing about tech. And again, I'm not discouraging anybody to not go to college because we have some great colleges here in Mississippi and all over the South. But Linux and all these other IT fields, if you're, we have kids all the time that tell me they're on the fence about going to college. We have these community college programs. You can do 1 year, get that certification, and start working immediately.
Yep, that's true. I'm a witness of that.
All right, so talk a little bit about Linux. I mean, I'm a novice. I'm not an operating system expert by any stretch. But for some of our middle schoolers and some of these kids that may not be familiar with that operating system, it is becoming one of the fastest growing operating systems to learn in the world. So talk about how that works. And I know you say it's changing all the time, and you're always getting better at it.
Yeah, so basically, in a nutshell, Linux is a command-based operating system. Um, your phone runs it, that you're on, your Apples, your Androids. It's something that you can't see. It's in the background um, of the system. And I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of explain it. So basically, if we're familiar with Windows, the point and click, that's called a GUI interface. So everything's point and click, and it makes it really simple for the user to interact with it, on a day-to-day basis. But you can do everything that you can point and click, and you can do that on the command line, which is terminal based. So say the system goes down, I'm able to remotely log in to that server and do the same functionality as I would be able to with the mouse and point and click. Um, trying to So luckily I actually have a server here in my room. Let me see if I can flip the camera.
Oh, sure.
Um, so this is like an actual server. This is what a server
Oh,
looks
wow.
like. Yeah, I'm a nerd on most days, but so this is the actual server. These things run like maybe about $500 or so. And this is basically what it is. You operate it through the keyboard, and I can have a mouse, and I can say I wanted to start a small business or someone wanted to have a website, I can host it on that server.
Yeah, and I know, and you are with IBM, and I know we always see the IBM commercials. So, but it may go over people's head on what IBM does and what they provide for clients. So I know you do a lot of network reliability, and obviously the cool thing about your job is you obviously do the software side, but you get to do a little bit of the hardware as well. So it's a good little mix. So just talk about what your job actually entails when it comes to knowing the Linux.
My job, so I'm on the SRE team, which is a site reliability engineer. And my team's job is to basically monitor these servers. They're physical servers, but I'm not actually physically with the servers. This is just my personal server. So to kind of clear it up. But I monitor the activity on servers to make sure that things are functioning properly. So basically, customers all around the world are actively pinging these servers because these servers host their personal clientele information. And if they can't access that, there's problems. So say, for instance, 7-Eleven. Let's take 7-Eleven, for instance. If you go in there and the computer system's down, right? And they can't take payments or things like that, it's normally a problem with the back end. And we would be the type of people that would try to fix the actual problem. Does that make sense? But also there's other
Yeah.
departments, like, so you have data centers that house the servers. So you have different places in the region, in the United States, in the world, where these servers live. So say you have a big building that has millions of servers in them, and something could happen to that building. It could catch on fire, it could overheat, natural disasters and things like that. So it's very so many different departments in IT and things like that. But I'm not an actual
Well,
hands-on person
yeah. But
with the server.
but you have one and you could talk somebody through it if they wanted to be remote on it. Now something that I did not realize that is so important in IT for these servers is for these large, for some of these companies that will be using you guys as a client, they have large server rooms with large mainframes, and they have to keep them cool. So the HVAC people are making a killing in the IT
Mhm.
department now because like you said, when there are problems like overheating, that is a huge part of security and a huge part of data when it comes to these big servers.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and I think that you made a good point too, is that every single business that we deal with, whether it be in person, whether it be virtually, whether it be on our phone, has to have some type of IT server going on. So that's why, and you said when you decided to get into this field, you saw it wasn't going anywhere and it's only going to grow. And I'm sure you see advances just in the 8 years that you've been in this.
Oh yeah, the cloud's big now. They take away the actual physicality of it. I mean, but still it's somewhere living, but they make you think it's somewhere magical in the cloud. It's just the I don't think anything changes a lot. It's just things advance and then the terminology changes. So it's, you know,
Now, and before I get to the students' questions, I just a couple more things I wanted to talk about. And you mentioned one of them is that there's a need for more diversity in this field, just like any other field, because you said there's not a lot of women that are in your field, in your particular area, and there's not a lot of Black women. There's not a lot of Black individuals of any gender in this field, and there's a need for bilingual people. There's a need for multiple genders and multiple races. So, how have you really seen that trend changing since you've gotten into this?
um, well, I've seen it change. Well, I've been in the field for 8 years, and we went through the Me Too movement, and I think a lot of things changed, and then diversity and inclusion. Those are really big factors now, and so I feel that they have mandated that there has to be a certain, ethnic group that they have to have. And they speak about that. And I mean, I can only speak about IBM, but IBM's really, really big on that. Um, I
There
know
is
for
there is a big
fact
need.
they're really big with that.
That's awesome. Now, obviously, we'd be remiss if we did not talk about the way we met and the importance of networking, and how the where we met really needs more people. We met at a basketball camp in Knoxville, Tennessee. We both officiate women's college basketball. You can see you in some big games on TV. But I always say I'm a little bit older than you by a few years. And last season I refereed a combined 56 games. And I would have had more if I wouldn't have gotten sick. Uh, I was the youngest person in all of those except 5.
Mm.
So the need for young people to get into a fish, even if they don't care about tech, there's other great fields that they can get into and still have tech skills. But we need young people to get into officiating, basketball, football, soccer, volleyball, baseball, something. For one, it's a great workout. I get great exercise. I meet people I would not have met otherwise. I go places I never would have gone otherwise. I see things I never would have seen otherwise. And it builds your network just from a professional standpoint. And for all these kids that play sports that want to still be a part of the game, but it's such a great way to stay involved and puts a nice little chunk of change in your pocket as well.
Hmm. I have to agree. Totally.
Uh,
Like I love officiating, especially if you like sports or played, and it's just a way to keep you around the game.
yeah, and look, I've got I've lost a lot of weight, and I can do a few more years of that many games. I probably got about probably 15 good more years in me, but at some point my body's going to give out. I can't keep being the youngest person. We need these kids, no matter where they are, to at least consider calling something. If you're not a big basketball fan, do soccer, do baseball, do football. We need females. There's never been a bigger need for females. Mississippi made history this past year of having the first all-female high school football crew. So
Mm.
there's a place for them in football. There's a place for them in soccer. There's a place for them in every sport. Don't think because you weren't a star athlete or something that officiating can't use you. There's a lot of great people that can teach you, similar to IT. There's great people in tech that can teach you. If you don't want to go to college, you want to get the certification and get on with a mentor and have somebody train you. It works the same way with officiating. And I'm telling you, no matter who you are, no matter what your gender is, we can find a place for you, and we need you.
I concur.
So I would really encourage everybody to at least think about it, and we can definitely find ways to get you involved. But I do have some questions from the students. Um, and this is Rondell Ellis. He's in 9th grade. And he asked, what is the most enjoyable part of your field, and how has that positively affected you since you made the career change?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. The most enjoyable part is the money and the freedom to do the things that you want to do, knowing that you work hard and and being able to just make a living for yourself. Just the consistency, being in um having a career, you
Yeah,
know.
and like I said, every field needs people. I like this one. This is Levon Johnson. He's a big gamer. He's
Mhm.
asking about, he said, if I was to get a new laptop, would you recommend Mac, Windows, or Linux?
Oh, well, I would probably say Mac.
They're all
Mac
watching you
and
on a Mac right now.
Mac, but you can also put a Linux distribution on your Mac. Have the best
Oh,
of both worlds.
interesting. Well, and I always say knowing multiple operating systems is going to help you in any field, because even with what I do, I have to know iOS and I know Windows, and you can't just be an expert on one and not know the other. So knowing multiple operating systems can help you in any field, with every job getting more technical now. So that's a very good point. Um, Here's a good one, and you talked about this briefly, but this is Tykevian Boyd, and he wants to get into the IT field. But he asked, what was it that sparked your interest the most of getting into technology?
Hmm. The most, I say when I first met my mentor, looking at the screen, I was like, what is that? And I just thought he was a genius, right? I was like, what are you looking at? And he was just like, oh, well, I'm programming this, I'm doing that, and I was like, what? And I think that's what intrigued me, because when I saw that, I put him on this pedestal that like he was just like a genius. So that was my initial spark. And then it's not an easy field. It's challenging, and challenges. I've always been drawn to challenges, so I think that was probably my biggest spark.
Yeah, and you know, if you want a challenge, I couldn't agree more that this field needs people that like to be challenged. And I got one more. This is Michael Sherrill, one of our football players here at Velma Jackson, and he asked, "What has been the most rewarding part of your career change since you left college?"
Again, I'll just go back to the freedom. I love freedom. I love being able to travel. I love being able to do nice things for myself. So that has really been the biggest joy of hard work, the fruits of your labor.
Yep.
So
And
commitment, sticking to something, it's not easy, but sticking to something, like, once you look back, you'll be very happy of committing to something. And
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much. I mean, this is just such a cool operating system you deal with, and just a field that really needs more and more people to get into. So before we go, just why should these kids, when they're getting, moving through high school, getting ready to graduate, making those career choices, why should they really consider getting into this field, no matter what area of IT they get into?
well, it's endless opportunities. IT is only going to grow, as we see in, artificial intelligence and things of that nature. Even though we might, this is in my heart, I feel that, I know we're scared that, we're going to be replaced by robots and artificial intelligence, but there still has to be people that program those things. Robots are never going to outsmart us,
Nope.
so I just feel that this is a field that's never going to go anywhere. And it's always evolving. And on top of that, it's a universal language. Like, literally, I can go to China and do the same thing I do now and not even have to speak their language. It's a
That's a
universal
valid
language,
point.
and you can go anywhere. That's why I harp on the freedom. I wanted to choose a career path that, hey, it's endless opportunities. Like, there's people in my field that are literally, they're called subject matter experts. They know something so well that they're only called when they're needed, but they get
Wow.
paid. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So imagine traveling the world and doing what you love, but you're getting paid, and you might only be bothered 4 or 5 times a week for something because you're that smart, and you know your stuff that well that
Wow.
people pay you like that.
Yeah, and I think you also made a good point on that, because the media loves to scare us saying robots and computers are going to take over. That's never going to happen. But the types of jobs and the job skills are going to change. But you're
Yeah.
right. You're always going to need people in those skills, but the skills required are going to change. And that's why I really encourage these kids, learn these, learn to code, learn some basic languages. You can learn it at 19 years old, get in the field, start working. And even if you don't want to get into the tech field, have a certification that you can translate into making you more marketable in another field. So you're right. It's not going anywhere.
No,
Well, I know you had to fit this in your schedule. I know you're slammed. We thank you so much for joining us. Ashley Birch, all the way from Dallas, Texas.
thanks for having me, Greg.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay, see you later.